channel. This is Tita Lavinia of Titas of Pageantry, and for this episode, as promised, I will be reviewing the top 12 gowns seen at the recently concluded 74th Miss Universe edition that took place last November. So please make sure you stick around. Please subscribe to the channel as well as hit the bell notification button for your weekly pageant fix. Hey guys, I hope that you're doing well. I know that it has taken me a little over 2 weeks to complete this for you, but don't worry, I have all of the information that I need. I initially started as early as after Miss Universe, but you know, a lot of these girls and their organizations, they don't really post a lot of the information as diligently as the likes of the Philippines or maybe Thailand. So I really needed to do a lot of digging for you. So yeah, I have all of the information that I need, and I felt that this year merits its own episode because in recent years we've had gown segments, of course, at Miss Universe, but none of them were really as memorable. I could probably pick out one or two gowns from the past 5 years. One of them, of course, was that of MMD's, but nothing has really resonated with me. This year is a little different. The preliminary competition was a little so-so, but a lot of the girls were able to really showcase something new by the finals. Now, let me just tell you that there were 12 ladies who were picked for the second cut of the semifinals, and there were at least 3 pairs of gowns that looked pretty similar to each other, if not in color, but probably in style. But you will definitely find out more about this. So yes, 12 ladies were picked to advance. Of course, I did not realize that the eventual winner from Mexico would advance to top 12. I was actually thinking probably Turks and Caicos, probably Miss Universe Latina, but yeah, she got in, and then this edition turned out to be the dirtiest edition. This edition turned out to be the most controversial, but at least the gowns were snatched. At least there were there were a lot of ideas that we got to see, and there were a lot of cultural crossovers that we also got to see that challenged us. So without further ado, I will be ranking the 12 looks for you, starting from my least favorite to my favorite. So get your pens and papers, or I don't know, your phones, and list them out because I will be giving you a lot of details. So let's begin with my 12th spot, and I will be giving this to the eventual winner of Miss Universe Mexico, the controversial Fatima Bosch. Now, Fatima wore Trino Orozco almost exclusively at Miss Universe, and he was also the one who crafted her finals gown, which was a column gown that had long sleeves and a close crop neck. Now, this is in deep red. It had gold sequin details, and according to the designer, the garment embodies passion and strength of the Mexican homeland. So the look really seemed basic, but it did have a lot of symbolism in it. Now, sources say that this is also an homage to the baby Jesus because as of now, it has become well documented that Fatima is highly religious. So to us, the Filipinos, we could probably make a comparison. We definitely see the baby Jesus comparison, but we also added another layer because her frock seemed really religious, and it also has some similarities to that of the Poong Nazareno. Now, according also to the designer, the colors that you see, which is gold and crimson, instead of really pushing for the very idea that this has very Chinese motifs, because it's really uncanny, it's something that you cannot deny. I mean, you get these envelopes for New Year and you get the reference almost immediately. But yeah, according to the designer, the reality of putting these colors together, crimson and gold, really has something to do with paying homage to Fatima's hometown, because prior to becoming Miss Universe, Fatima was apparently the Queen of Tabasco, and the colors red and gold really is a nod to her stint as the Queen of Tabasco. So yeah, again, this is my least favorite gown because I felt that this really didn't have a lot of design elements in it. Of course, it was embellished, but in terms of silhouette, it seems the simplest out of everyone else, and it also seems to be the easiest to replicate, the easiest to knock off. Next, my 11th spot will be for Miss Universe Cuba, Lina Estefan. Now, Lina Estefan wore a Venezuelan designer by the name of Nidal Nuayed. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Nidal. And she wore a fully embellished silver gown. And this one features a diamond cutout at the torso, and covering the bust area are two white panels that cascade down the back. So the cascading fabric really does evoke a lot of Thai motifs that we're very familiar with. However, this look was a little lost in translation for me because, yeah, the long white panels that seem to be tucked under the boob, it just ended up looking like tissue rolls or like tissue sheets coming from the bust area cascading down the back. So I don't know if they had it checked or if they were all on board with the design, but if you would ask me, I preferred her preliminary gown than this gown that she wore for the finals. So yeah. My 10th spot goes to the beautiful Puerto Rican. She is, of course, Zashley Alicea. Now, she wore a design by Javier Moreno, and this is a fully fitted gown made of sequin embroidered tulle. It had linear patterns, and this is a pattern that really sculpts and flatters the body. The make had transparent and silver check glass beads, so it's a gown that really catches the light. It's a gown that really evokes Hollywood, and it's a gown that's appropriate for such a big stage. My only issue was that this was a gown that was reminiscent of the gowns that were seen in 2024, and on top of it, she was twinning with Miss China, so it just really depended on who performed more or who performed better for the judges, because the similarity was just so uncanny. My ninth spot goes to the beautiful Colombian. I really thought that she would go all the way, and I am, of course, talking about Vanessa Pulgarin. Now, her gown was designed by the legendary Alfredo Baraza. I think a lot of the Filipinos out there have missed Mr. Baraza, who has done quite a number of looks for the Philippines. So now he is exclusively designing for Colombia. And, once you look at Vanessa Pulgarin, you would again have the idea that she is another Colombian starter pack, but her gown was made from a sheer fabric covered in iridescent lilac crystals. It features a clean, plunging, asymmetric V neckline with a subtle illusion panel for support. The crystals are concentrated on the bodice and they are arranged like fireworks. So it's really stunning. It is a little on the simpler side, but it definitely screams Colombia, even with her whole styling, with her hair and makeup. Now, the silhouette is simple, I know, but the sculpted cut of this dress just gives Vanessa an even more snatched appearance. Her thigh slit is actually a shift from the usual gowns that the Colombians wear, but yeah, it's a nice way of showing off her toned legs, and if it gives her added mobility, then this is a definite go. Why is she in my ninth spot? I think that she could have gone a little higher. It's just that this look was beautiful. It was just super basic and in a way also super expected from Colombia. My eighth spot goes to the pleasant surprise that is Miss Universe China. Now, her name is Zhao Na, and again, she wore a silver creation, and again, she was also wrapped in a voluminous white cape, very similar to that of Miss Puerto Rico. But this time around, she wore a Vietnamese designer. The name is Min Tuan Couture. Now, the gown has a very similar design to that of Miss Puerto Rico, I mentioned. Both of them were silver, both had white and that white cape going on, and both had a very similar cutout. She just placed a little higher on my list only because I like the fit of this gown more than that of Puerto Rico. So her gown is a fully embellished sculpted illusion dress that's crystal laden, and it had dramatic side cutouts as well. But what I liked about this gown was the way the bust was cut. It had a structured sweetheart bodice that was just so pronounced. It seemed like cat ears on her bust, which I really, really liked. The beadwork cascades in a symmetrical Art Deco pattern. It had waves. It created like this liquid movement for the body. It did sparkle under intense light. So I think both looks were very successful. It was just so unfortunate that they were seen on stage at around the same time. So the seventh spot for me goes to another surprise in the competition, a happy one. I actually thought that she would go all the way and challenge the likes of, I don't know, Mexico, who was just so questionable. But anyway, I am talking about Miss Universe Malta, Julia Clouet. Now, she proudly wore a golden French gown by Filipino designer Chico Estiva. Now, she wore the same gown for the prelims, which probably means that she really, really liked this gown. Now, this gown is a structured sweetheart style bust in shimmering silver. It's giving it a look of a bustier with paneling details. So it plays with the eye, really. It's not fabric, it's completely done in beadwork. And it has the enhancing cinched bodice silhouette and a high neckline, which is made of illusion sheer fabric. So the fit really is very like ice skating costume, so it's really close to the body. But again, what's very striking about this gown is that it's heavily adorned with scattered crystal embellishments. The fringe trails down the arms. It's giving a lot of gemstone. It's giving a lot of moving fringe panels. And yeah, it's unapologetically fringy. And what I like about this is that, we are in 2025, 2026. The silhouette is very 1920s flapper. I think it's such a great nod for the 20s, for the 1900s, and then 20s in the 2020s. So I just think that it's a really good way to modernize a classic silhouette from the flapper era of the 1920s. So yeah, I thought this was really successful. My sixth spot will be given to the beautiful Venezuelan. She is, of course, the radiant Stephanie Abasali. Now, she set the stage on fire. I mean, she had pretty much the same color palette as that of Miss Mexico. She was also in crimson, she was also in gold, but she had a stronger look because the design that she wore was from a couture house that's known to be creative, that's known to be magical, that's known to be very visual with their designs. And I am talking about Jolie Poly Couture. Now, this is a creation worthy of a queen. I know that she is in my sixth spot only because, some of the design elements were just a little lost in translation for me. But let me tell you that out of the 12 ladies, Stephanie had the best fitting gown, in my opinion. It was just so fitted. It seemed like it was sculpted. It seemed like it was engineered to her body. So they scored points with that. Now, going back to the gown, this is a sharp sculpted silhouette, and it had intricate gold dragon accents that added depth, that added symbolism, and of course, it added strength to her already strong look. It had thousands of hand placed crystals, it illuminated the bodice, it caught the light in every angle, and to complete the ensemble, she wrapped herself in a golden phoenix like cape that she dropped while she just walked on stage alone. So it was very regal. Honestly, it evoked a lot of imagery coming from Chinese movies, like Chinese epic movies from the likes of Gong Li. Yeah, so I will be showing you, of course, the references so that you have the idea. why is it in my sixth spot? If I have been singing praises for this gown, she is in my sixth spot because I just feel a disconnect between the make of the gown and her personality. I just feel that Stephanie is a type of candidate no different from Atisa. These are the candidates who would do well with just plain fabrics, who would do with more sophisticated cuts and sophisticated design. I just thought that this Jolie Poly couture design was just a little too out there for her. And I just thought that there seemed to be a disconnect between the heavily Chinese or Vietnamese influence of the actual gown to that of the Venezuelan. Like, I don't know what the connection was. Fifth spot will go to the de facto winner of Miss Universe 2025. I am, of course, talking about Miss Universe Cote d'Ivoire, Olivia Yase, who was Layla Lopez personified in her champagne gown. Now, she also wore a lot of designers for her OOTDs, and I thought that she looked fantastic in the Leo Almodal gown that she wore for the prelims. In fact, if you would have asked me, I would have wanted her to just continue that Leo Almodal gown up until the finals. But nevertheless, this gown was absolutely beautiful. This gown really was an homage to the beautiful Leda Lopez, and I think it brought her a little bit of that magic. So going back to the gown, this is a gown that was designed by Thai designer GL Garlat or Garlate. I don't know how to pronounce his name still. GL is super solid. Like, he does a lot of these sparkly gowns, sparkly dresses. No wonder he is so in demand. Even Vina wore a number of his designs for prelims and even in the other events at Miss Universe. So that's how in demand GL is. And that's how reliable he is when it comes to producing sparkly gowns. But for this gown, he still continued with the bling, but there is absolute restraint, which I absolutely love. So this is a champagne colored gown. It's fully beaded, it's light catching, it's radiant, it has a sunburst crystal detail, and the patterns also sculpt the body and it plays with the eye. It gives her a lot of that hourglass shape, and it elongates her figure even more, so that slit really allows for her legs to be on full display. And so it has a shimmering neckline. The beadwork is dense. It's not sparse at all, so you could see very little negative space in there. And yeah, she moved like liquid. It was bold, it was luminous, it was elegant, it was dramatic. It's in my fifth spot because it's really nothing new. It looked radiant on her, but in terms of design, I think this is something that we've seen before. It's just that this is something that really works for her. So we are at number 4. I am talking about the beautiful Miss Universe Chile, Ina Mall. Now, she wore a bold and futuristic masterpiece this time, and this is a plunging illusion neckline of a gown. It's absolutely sculpted to her body, and this was designed by Filipino master Rian Fernandez. Now, going back to the design, I absolutely love this color. This is a color that resembles raspberries, and I always say that I gravitate towards this color because it's a color that reminds me of cough syrup. It's really pretty. Cough syrup or tourmalines, I don't know. It's up to you. But yes, this had a combination of raspberry pink or fuchsia pink and a little bit of that teal or aqua blue, which I am looking at the long fluid fringe details because I think that's going to be one of the first things that catches your attention. And it had like a second skin effect. Rian is really good with that type of beadwork. It's a beadwork that's so closely stitched together that it ends up looking like shimmering fabric. And yeah, I think that this is very dramatic. I think that this is a gown that's just so visible. It's so hard to miss. And it had a really good play of colors because a lot of these gowns, a lot of these girls are afraid of color. They're also afraid of color combinations if they can't go for the prints. So I thought that this was a really well thought of gown. Number three, my third spot, of course, goes to, I don't know, one of the most unfortunate characters this edition. And I am going to give this one to the beautiful Vina Pravinar of Thailand. Now, she wore a dress that was designed by TC Couture, or at least I think that's how they pronounce it. The dress itself actually has a name, and it's called Legacy of the Eternal Queen. Now, of course, with the shape, with the way it was presented, I think all of us know who the inspiration of the gown is, but according to the designer, the description of the dress is that it is inspired by the Thai national dress, which is soon to be recognized by UNESCO. And of course, this is a clear nod to Queen Sirikit, and the Thai inspired silhouette combines structural beading with soft ethereal draping. Its sculpted column shape is built from intricate silver and icy blue beadwork. So there are a number of blue toned beads that were part of the embellishment of this actual garment. So you have the sapphire tone gems, you have the lattice like linear patterns, and these patterns just create a stronger uh, hourglass silhouette on an already curvy Vina Pravinar. Now, the cutouts at the waist and the jewel encrusted focal points add definition, and the symmetrical neckline flows into an ombre chiffon drape and train. So, the softness and the architectural details of the gown, they just balance each other out, and the end result is something that's sculptural yet fluid. Now again, I like this gown on Vina. I thought that this was a solid gown. However, I just think that this was a little too sweet for her. Her styling this whole time is just a little on the stronger side, and I do know that the inspiration, of course, is a nod to the late Queen Sirikit. I just felt that Vina could have taken a stronger silhouette from a lot of Queen Sirikit's wardrobe. And I also felt that she has worn more striking gowns in the past. So I'm going to flash at least two gowns for you. One was from Michael Cinco, the other one, I'm just not so sure, but she could have gone for these directions because Vina, being one of the most in demand models, in demand beauty queens in Thailand. We have seen her in so many photo shoots. We have seen her in so many events. So we kind of know of the caliber of couture dresses that she has worn in the past. So for her to wear something so watered down, so subdued, it kind of is counterproductive because now you're supposed to really show everything. You're supposed to be either the sparkliest bird or the most colorful or the most extravagant. She just went a little more subdued, and although it landed her on the first runner-up spot, she could have given us more only because she has given us more in the past, if that makes sense. All right, my number two spot goes to, I don't know if you will agree with this, but let me make a case for it. My number two spot goes to the beautiful doll-like representative from the Philippines. I am, of course, talking about the beautiful Atisa Manalo. Now, she wore a stunning couture gown by Val Taguba, so absolute kudos to Val Taguba. I know we doubted Val Taguba. I know that we had a lot to say. We had a lot of opinions. We haven't even seen anything yet. We were just basing it from his other designs. And so I love the idea that this gown kept us on our toes. I love that it pumped new blood into our bloodstream. It made us guess. It kept discussions. I mean, this was really an energetic piece. And so this gown is a design that featured a sculpted sweetheart corset. It had delicate petal-like cups, and of course, you could already see the visible boning that emphasized the sculptural precision of the dress while maintaining its soft and feminine silhouette. So if you notice, my description actually is really no different from the description of that of Venus' gown. And so going back to Atisa's, the bodice and the skirt were adorned with floating crystal trails, It had intricate beadwork. So even if you see like the visible boning and the visible Art Deco lines, you could also see certain panels catch the light. And there are different patterns in the beadwork. So that's what makes this a lot more special. And the most magical aspect of this gown, really, and I suppose a lot of you will definitely agree, it has something to do with the magical organza strips that just moved with her. It was attached. It definitely changed our perception of what a palikpik gown is. We hated the idea of the palikpik gown, and what we were given was something that was softer, something that was more magical, something that seemed like its own special effects. I think that's what I loved about this. It had movement, it was dynamic. And what I loved about this is that as Atisa walked and twirled, the strips traveled with the breeze and it wrapped her in like a mesmerizing and otherworldly motion. It was just so magical. It was like dealing with celestial wind. I don't know, it was just like dealing with the powers that be. It was like the pageant gods communicating with us. I don't know, I absolutely love this. And yeah, if you're wondering what this fabric is, because this one is a fabric that's even lighter than chiffon, and this is called super organza. Now apparently the technology in developing this fabric was done in Japan. It's one of the most expensive fabrics out there. And so if you look at this, it really evoked imagery of Iris Van Herpen, Prada, which was worn by Hunter Schafer recently. And then Lisa also wore like a pink gown from Lever Couture, which was so similar in attack. So I don't know. I think that this was really successful because it also catered to a lot of our um, aspirations for what a finals gown would actually look good if we had the chance to do it on our own. So yeah. And as for me, because I'm very visual with a lot of things, I think that this became one of my favorites and one of the gowns that I will most likely talk about in detail because it evoked a lot of imagery that I gravitate towards. I likened it to the likes of the Dementors, to Wraiths, and yeah, that Cinderella like transformation when you have that wind wrapped around her as she transforms from a dress that's tattered to a dress that's just so magically made. So yeah, this was an absolute success of a gown. So there. And now, before I reveal my number one spot for you, I think those of you who have been keeping count already know who it is, but I would just like to give a brief shout out to that of Miss Universe Argentina. I absolutely loved her gown for the prelims. I have no clue whether she had plans to change her gown from prelims to finals had she been given a chance to enter the semifinals. And now, my number one spot for you. I know you miss these sessions, you miss these long conversations, but it will have to end with this number one spot. I will be giving this to another beauty that's just so striking. I am talking about Miss Universe Guadeloupe, Ophélie Mezzino. Now, she was the one who wore a thong Gaia key designed. And again, this dress had a name, and I'm actually wearing something very similar as a nod to Miss Guadeloupe. And this is called the Galaxy gown, and rightly so. So if you look at the gown, it's just so unfortunate that it blended with the background, because it would have been really nicer if it were allowed to shine on its own, if it weren't so blue, only because the mesh and the blue motif of the gown just was a little lost. But yeah, if you go ahead and look at the details, you would understand why this is my favorite. So her gown is a midnight blue sheer galaxy inspired gown covered in star-like crystals, cosmic patterns, and it features a nude illusion bodice with asymmetrical crystal appliques, a high embellished neckline, long sheer sleeves with scattered sparkles. The fitted silhouette shines under the light, creating a radiant celestial effect. But more than anything else, I really thought that her styling was on point that evening. I loved her big hair. I loved how it was tucked under the ears, and you could see her beautiful face. You could see the earrings, and you could see like the celestial representations on her dress. And I really hope that she got more exposure wearing this dress. It was just unfortunate that we didn't really get the chance to scrutinize this dress even more. That's why I hope these visuals bring more appreciation on your side. Now, this is my favorite dress because, yeah, I love a lot of celestial motifs. I guess this is a remnant of growing up as a teenager in the 90s when we would decorate our rooms with a lot of these celestial images of the sun, the moon, and the stars, and a lot of Sabrina, a lot of like those magical shows. So that's probably the reason why it resonated with me. And on top of this, it really reminds me of the works from Valentino, the works from Dior, and Australian designer Paulo Sebastian. So yeah. Now, I want to go back a little to Atisa's dress. I think a lot of you would say, Tita, why is she not number one? Now, the reason why I couldn't bring her to number one is because I will flash this photo for you just so you understand that Atisa and Vina sort of have the same gown. They have like this thing going on, just like Miss Puerto Rico and China, Mexico and Venezuela. So they were twinning with each other, that it seemed that Atisa's and Vina's gown seemed to belong to the same collection from the same designer. It's just that Atisa probably is the finale walk. So it just did have that feel. These are, of course, very original gowns, but sometimes it cannot be helped that an element or two might be the same because you're competing with what, more than 100 girls. So there you have it. I usually do a lot of these reviews in under 30 minutes, but I purposely pushed it a little further for you because I know how you guys love your content, and I know how you want to extend the feeling of being in that panata period wherein we would wake up at certain hours of the day and we would chica like clockwork. So for this, I hope that waiting for a little over 2 weeks is worth it, and I hope that you got your gown fill. I will be thinking of another content for you. I hope that comes very, very soon. But for now, thank you. And yeah, comment below if you agree with my ranking. So for now, thank you and goodbye.